In this video, I'm going to show you how the triggers document works. The triggers document is a task that runs in the background, running logical programs, using the built-in scripting language C#, in which execution can be condition, trigger, calendar, and interval. Some example uses of the document triggers include: run a script to generate a report daily, weekly, or yearly. Run a script after changing a tag. Run a script after an alarm is triggered. Run a script whenever an expression is true. It is also possible using a triggers documents to run a services documents. It is important to mention that the execution performance of triggers documents will depend on the processing of the computer where ADISRA SmartView is installed. Documents and service triggers have the same execution performance. Both run the scripts in runtime mode. To create a new services document, right-click Triggers and then click New Document. A new document is added to the application. Triggers document is divided into two areas. Document Settings, which contains a field to enable or disable the document. Triggers Items, which contains all trigger items inserted in the document. Use the document settings parameters in this document as follows. Enable enables or disables triggers document. You can also use a Boolean tag to enable or disable the document. To insert or remove a trigger item, click the Insert Trigger or Remove Trigger button located in the upper left menu. Below is an item of triggers inserted in the document. Each triggers item contains a field called Type, which defines the trigger type. Now, let's get to know the various types of execution in the triggers document. The condition type executes the trigger item if the condition is true. By default, the execution interval is 300 milliseconds. The condition type executes the trigger when the configured condition is true. By default, the initial value of the condition is set to true. Therefore, if we compare the condition type of the two service and trigger documents, it is possible to notice that the condition of the triggers document will consume 3 times more CPU processing than the condition of the services document. That's because the script is running every 300 milliseconds. The condition type trigger item has several fields, and these must be filled in according to the type of execution being specified. The fields are: type defines the type of execution, condition, a tag value change, a time interval, or when a predetermined date. Condition, if the field is true, the trigger item will be executed. In this field, it is possible to place a tag, expression, or keep it in true. Action type defines what will be executed. An expression or a services document can be executed. Expression field defines which expression will be executed after the condition field is true. Action field defines which service will be executed after the condition field is true. Alias defines a name for the trigger item so that it can be used by SV event functions. Let's create an item in the trigger document to increment the tag value. According to our example, the fields that are filled, whenever the condition is true, the script will be executed every 300 milliseconds by default. Let's test the increment. As you can see, the script worked. It is possible to execute a services document from a triggers document, even if the condition configured in the services document is not true. So for this example, let's create a new services document. So, whenever the triggers document's condition is true, the services document will be executed. Let's test it. As you can see, whenever tag bool is true, the services document is executed and tag 1 is assigned the value of tag 2. ADISRA SmartView allows you to create, delete, and view a trigger item using SV event functions in runtime mode. For this, it is necessary to identify each trigger item with an alias, to be used in the parameter of the functions below. In this example, I will show how to create an item in the triggers document in runtime mode. Let's create a new screen and add a button with the following function. The script is composed of a function svEvent.saveEvent. To use this function, it is necessary to pass the following parameters. Name of the existing trigger document. Trigger item alias. The type of the new trigger item. 1 to condition, 2 to interval or otherwise to trigger. The action type of the trigger item. 1 to service or otherwise to expression. The action value of the trigger item. For example, the name of the service for action type service or the script for the action type expression. A string which represents the condition field of the trigger item. So let's test it. After clicking the button above in runtime mode, the trigger item will be created in the application. To show you, let's enter the engineering environment, and you will see that the new trigger item was created. As you can see, the script worked. The trigger type executes a script if the value of the trigger tag changes from false to true or true to false. The trigger tag must be of type Boolean. Let's create an item of type trigger to increment the value of a tag. According to the filled fields, whenever the tag bool tag changes its value, the expression will be executed. In this example, the tag increment will be increment. Let's test the increment. As you can see, the script worked. A calendar trigger is executed when the setDate condition meets the true result, defined by datetime field. The trigger item can be executed daily, weekly, or monthly. The recur to every field allows executing the trigger item repeatedly every X days if it is filled with a value above 1. In the weekly condition, you can choose which days of the week the script will be triggered. In the monthly condition, it defines which month of the year the script will be triggered. The days option defines which day of the selected month the script will be triggered. And the on option defines which day of the week the script will triggered. Let's create an item in the document to run a daily script. According to the example, whenever the Windows time is equal to the time defined in the condition, the script will be executed. Let's test it. As you can see, the trigger worked. So you can use this type to trigger a script based on configured date. An interval trigger is performed in time intervals when the set interval conditions have met the true result. The interval type delays the execution of a script. We can consider it like a timer. Let's create an item to increment a value in the tag shown. Let's test the increment. As you can see, the script worked. Returning to the engineering environment, it is possible to organize the trigger documents by folders and distribute several trigger items by several trigger documents. It is also possible to export and import a trigger document. With this resource, it is possible to create many triggers in a fast and practical way. It is worth mentioning that, when exporting and importing a document, the structure of the document must be respected in order not to generate errors. More information about the triggers document can be found in the help document. Thanks for watching until the end. Visit the ADISRA website for more information or contact info@adisra.com or the sales team.